Did Ms. Heard, based on your personal friendship with Ms. Heard, close personal friendship with Ms. Heard, would you say that she confided in you?
Yes.
And what about Mr. Depp?
Yes.
Mr. Carino, at some point in time, after Ms. Heard filed those divorce papers in May of 2016, did she make any requests of you to intervene in the relationship between her and Mr. Depp?
What do you mean by intervene?
Assist in, let's start with assist in communications between the two.
Objection. Yes. Same objections.
Can you explain to me what transpired in that regard? Walk me through it.
At some point around that time, she wanted me to arrange for them to get together in person.
And what did you do after that was requested of you by Ms. Heard?
I talked to Johnny about it.
What happened after that?
He was reluctant at first and then agreed.
And then what happened after that?
I mean, this is a long time ago, but I remember there was a fair amount of discussion about the TRO and how we would deal with that, because nobody wanted Johnny accused of violating the TRO as an outcome of that meeting. And I don't remember exactly what we did, but Amber at some point warranted that she would never accuse him of violating the TRO to do the meeting, and I set the meeting up.
So just so I understand, you set the meeting up at the request of Ms. Heard?
Objection.
Yes.
And as part of you setting up, she told you that it didn't matter. I'm trying to understand what was the issue with respect to the TRO?
My understanding of a restraining order, at least at the time, was that he couldn't go within a certain distance of her.
Okay. And what was her suggestion with respect to that issue in connection with her wanting to meet with him?
She promised me and told me to relay to him that she would never accuse him of violating the restraining order as a result of agreeing to meet her. And I believe, but I don't recall exactly, there were conversations with both sides legally, I believe at the time, to make it transparent to everybody that this was happening.
Okay. And then what happened next?
I arranged the meeting. Johnny was in San Francisco on tour, and I arranged to borrow a friend's house, and Amber and I flew to San Francisco and drove to the house, and Johnny showed up a few hours later.
And did the two of them meet?
Yes.
In the same room?
They sat outside.
Okay. How close to each other were they?
Inches away from each other.
And how long were they out there talking? For how long were they out there talking?
Several hours.
Did you, although you were out there, were you in a position where you could see them through a window or otherwise?
Yes.
At some point in time, the conversation ended, correct?
Correct.
And what happened after that?
I received a call or a text from Steve, whose house it was, and he notified me that he would be coming back to the house within the next hour or so. And I told Johnny and Amber, and we decided to rent a hotel room in San Francisco so that they could continue to talk.
And did that in fact happen?
Objection.
It is.
And at some point in time, you left that house, correct, to go to San Francisco?
Yes.
And was it the three of you?
No. Johnny had security with him, and we talked about the fact that it wouldn't be a good idea for them to be seen together. So Johnny left with his security in his car, and I believe Amber and I took an Uber.
And what happened after that?
We all met at the hotel room.
And do you know what happened after that?
They started arguing.
And do you recall any details of the argument?
No.
And for how long was this argument had in a hotel room?
Yes.
Did you witness the entire discussion, or did you leave at some point?
I left the next morning at 5 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning.
And Mr. Carino, I'm showing you emails that were produced by you. First, the bottom of the first page, it starts at the bottom of the first page. The string above it was redacted. And you'll see that it starts on August 7th, 2017. Do you see that?
August 7th, 2017, yes.
Having read it, can you determine who you're speaking with in this text exchange?
Amber.
Oh, hang on. Let me ask you this. Do you know whether or not Ms. Heard ever had a relationship with Mr. Elon Musk?
Yes.
She did?
Yes.
So again, it's dated August of 2017. And she says, dealing with breakup, I hate when things go public. See, I'm so sad. Having reviewed the document again, do you have an understanding of what she's referencing there?
I believe she's referring to breaking up with Elon.
You say, seems like a press release. You weren't in love with him, and you told me 1,000 times you were just filling space. What are you saying there?
I'm saying, why would you be sad if you weren't in love with him to begin with?
And by him, you're referring to who?
Elon.
Okay. And at this point in time, were you still close friends with Ms. Heard?
Looks like that's the case at that time, yes.
And did she still, at this point in time, did she confide in you about her relationships?
Yes.
Okay. And you respond, she responds, I know, but I wanted time to grieve and recover in my own time. Is she still referring to Mr. Musk there? Do you know? Your understanding.
I don't know whether she's referring to Johnny or to Elon in that line.
Okay. In this point in time, do you know what her feelings were? What was your understanding? At this point in time, what was your understanding based on your experience with her? What was your understanding of her relationship with Mr. Depp?
I don't believe there was a relationship at that point.
And you say, and you got that. No, she says, I hate that yet again a man lets me fall on the spikes by myself. You ask, how so? She says, oops. Meaning they are mad at me for leaving them and put things like this out there. You say, sorry. she says like that, you say, you could avoid all this if you stop dating uber famous people. You can be with a big man who isn't famous. What were you relating to her there?
I believe what I was saying was, if you don't like being in the press about your personal life, then don't date people that are famous.
Sure. You indicated that she moved on immediately after Johnny Depp to date Elon Musk. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, sure. Do you have an understanding one way or another whether Ms. Heard and Mr. Musk were in fact dating at the time of the San Francisco reconciliation that she asked you to set up?
I don't know whether they were dating, but they had definitely spent time together.
Do you know how long after the San Francisco attempted reconciliation you gained the understanding that Elon Musk and Ms. Heard were in fact dating?
I don't know exactly how long, but not long after.
Do you know who or what was your understanding of who she was referring to when she was said, "Here, I love him"?
Johnny.
Based on this exchange, did you have an understanding at this time whether Ms. Heard wanted to reconcile with Mr. Depp?
I believe she did.
And at this point in time, she was still a close personal friend of yours, correct?
Yes.
And at this point in time, did she consider you a confidant in your understanding?
I think, yes.
Okay, just to authenticate this document again, Mr. Carino, do you see that it's referenced at the bottom, bait stamp CC, indicating that you produced this document?
Yes.
And having read this, do you perceive this as a true or copy of a text exchange between you and Ms. Heard?
Yes.
Okay. And I will, and you see at the very top here, it's dated August 16th, 2017.
Yes.
And Ms. Heard states to you, "I've written so many notes. Can you give him one? I don't know how or where to start. There's no way to begin. And all I have to say, but I have so many. Finally, I am single, clear in my heart and mind. I just want him to know I loved him and that I am sorry." Do you have an understanding of who Ms. Heard is referring to here?
Yes.
And who is Ms. Heard referring to in this text?
Johnny.
And what is she asking you to do here?
She was asking me to deliver a letter that she was writing to him.
Oh. And did she also want you to, and it says, "and that I am sorry." What was your understanding of what she was asking you to do there, if anything?
I believe that was all in reference to getting him a handwritten letter that she was writing or trying to write.
Was it your understanding at the time of this text exchange, August 24, 2017, that Ms. Amber was attempting to reconcile with Mr. Depp?
I believe so.
Okay. And I know this may sound repetitive, but on August 20, at the time of this text, on August 24th, 2017, you and her were still close personal friends, correct?
I believe so.
There's not much here at all, Mr. Carino, but I did want you to confirm that this was a document produced by you, correct, based on the bait stamp on the bottom?
Yes.
And do you see it's dated September 27th, 2017?
September 23rd.
Oh, you're right. My apologies. It's dated September 23rd, 2017. And it's a text to you that says, "God, I miss him." Do you have an understanding of who Ms. Heard is referring to there?
Yes.
And who's that?
Johnny.
And do you see at the bottom, the date of the text is June 9th, 2018?
Yes.
Okay. And it says, I text him happy birthday. Do you know who sent that and who the him is?
I assume this is from Amber, and she's talking about Johnny.
You've had a chance to review the whole document. What does this appear to be?
It appears to be the communications around the time that we set up the meeting in San Francisco.
And who are these communications between?
Me and Johnny.
Okay. And this first bubble, can you tell if the blue is you or Mr. Depp?
I think the blue is me.
Sure. Earlier in your deposition, at the very outset, I was asking you about your representation of individuals at CAA. You indicated that you represent individuals that are both actors and musicians. Would you consider Mr. Depp in that pool?
Yes.
And you represented, or CAA represented him both in connection with his acting endeavors and his involvement with the vampires?
Yes.
And was Mr. Depp's participation in Hollywood Vampires lucrative?
No.
Do you know whether or not it was something Mr. Depp enjoyed?
Yes.